and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Catherine Eicher. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Today, joining us again is artist and designer who works a lot with the NBA, particularly Fred VanVleet. We've got Jimmy Butler. We've got Jason Tatum, so many other players. I'm sure you've seen his works online. He's amazing. He's back. It's Casey Bannerman. How you doing, Betty?
What up? How you doing? Thank you so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to have you here. I told you I wanted to start off with just a very funny random tidbit. Obviously like free agency just happened. We're going to get into all of it, including Fred and all that good stuff. But the one major thing that I can't get over after this free agency is Rich Paul. Did you read how much money Rich Paul made last weekend?
No, I did. I mean, I know the deals that went through. Obviously, he had a big, lots of great signings.
Yeah. Rich Paul made $390 million last weekend with 3 clients.
Wow. Oh my God.
Fred VanVleet, Draymond Green, and Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant. Wow. Yeah, I know. I was going to mention him as well. Oh my God. That is crazy. Do you think he makes more than Adele? Because Adele makes more.
I would think so. I don't think Adele's making that much in a weekend.
Right, but it's feast or famine, I would imagine.
I think Adele has a lot of. I think Adele has a lot of money. I think the Vegas residency is huge, but I think artists, from what I hear, make a lot of money now off of live performance more than sales or downloads, because like artists get like fractions of pennies now through like Apple and Spotify streaming. Back in the day, Adele would have been like so much.
Oh, 100%. And also not to.
So I do actually think Rich Paul's making more money.
And it doesn't matter. It's just that in my head I was thinking, oh my God, Adele makes so much money, but Rich Paul also makes so much money. Wow.
I'm googling Adele net worth. Okay, so her net worth is $220 million.
Wow. I would have thought it was more.
Paul net worth. Oh, his net worth is $120 million. So I don't know anything about money. I don't know anything about money. Certainly not in comparison to all of that. But I have to say, I love what I do. I love my career. Yeah. But when I saw that, I Googled how to become a sports agent. I
know. It's wild.
Kidding me. $390 million in a weekend with only 3 clients.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I was very surprised with the Jeremy Grant one. All credit to him. I was also what he got. Fred was incredible.
Yeah, both those deals were like massive deals.
Wild. It was a little bit of right place, right time on both of those, though. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think we'll
absolutely
get to that a bit later. But that's incredible. I mean, this is a man who has his own New Balance sneaker, which he has his clients promoting, by the way. Fred just shared his New Balance sneaker to his store, Instagram story.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you know how good of an agent you have to be to have a signature shoe? I mean, it's like...
I mean, it's true. It's true. I mean, most people Canada Day, it's like happy Canada Day, everyone, like whatever, if you celebrate or don't. Like, it's just, it's fireworks, it's picnics, it's cottages. Yeah. I was like, how do I become a sports agent?
I know. That is crazy.
And then realized, I don't think I could actually ever become a sports agent, but it was like a whole thing that I went down because there's understanding contract law, which is like a huge part of it. which makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. And like some are full on lawyers and some are just like, I don't know, have enough law experience to know contract law fully. So there's that part of it. But then there's also like, how do you befriend a teenage boy? Who is
without getting a restraining order.
Yeah, like that. Like nobody like online is like phrasing it that way. Like this is how you, but you know, it's like it's networking, it's connections and blah blah blah, and like scouting and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, like so much of like scouting as an agent would be befriending teenage athletes who you think are going to become pros. And that's so weird to me. I would love to interview an agent and figure out like how they actually do that, because it's like, it feels kind of creepy. I mean, obviously their families would be involved, but you know what I mean? It's like you're at the schools and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you were a parent of one of these athletes, I imagine you'd have to be hovering like at all times, because everyone wants a piece of your kid. Isn't that so wild?
Oh yeah.
But then they're millionaires.
I know.
And then I thought to myself, like, well, maybe, you know, maybe it's not my personality to like go to a high school boys basketball game and be like, hey.
I mean, there might be some.
I'm an agent. Yeah. Like, I just don't think I have the personality for that. And then I thought, like, well, maybe I could do that for like girls, because like I love the WNBA and stuff like that. And maybe like 100%. That won't be so like, I don't know, whatever. And then like WNBA agents make like no money because like the players don't make any money. So I was like, that's a real like. There's
that'll
like
change.
The top WNBA agent makes like $80,000 a year. And then I was like,
are you kidding?
Because the top WNBA player right now makes like $250,000 a year, like $250,000.
Right, but she would have a lot of clients, I would imagine, or he. I'm talking about the agent.
Yes, I suppose. But I'm just like, there's probably easier ways to get to that salary number.
I would imagine that the WNBA agents are probably also NBA agents. Like I would imagine that you'd see a lot of crossover there, because it's a really rapidly growing league, right? Like if you could look in the past, like even past 3 years, you know this way better than I do. Just the growth of the league is absolutely substantial. But yeah, no, it's crazy. And what I was going to say is, even then, it's not guaranteed, right? Like you could befriend an undrafted prospect who has a party, who says, I'm going to bet on myself. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about here. And even before his major $43.3 million.
And then it leaves you for Clutch Sports anyway.
He leaves you for Clutch Sports. And I'm not throwing shade. I mean, Fred's my guy. He's my homeboy. But I'm just saying that even then, it's not guaranteed, right? Like you have to keep up and you have to be able to rise to the occasion. Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. Also, shout out to Jerry Maguire. I watched that movie like 2 months ago again.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice little nostalgia.
Does it hold up? It holds up, you think?
I don't know. Maybe not to like crazy like film buffs who are, you know, but to me, I thought it was really good. Like I really enjoyed it. Okay, cool. I sort of watch things differently though. I watch things like for like the style and color. Like I'm a complete artist in that way. Like I just watch things and I just go, whoa, look at, you know, whatever. I don't know. Maybe the story's hacky. I didn't think it was.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a classic. So yeah. All right, let's get into the news this week.
Yeah.
Move past my existential crisis. So obviously, like since I recorded my last episode, Damian Lillard has officially requested a trade from the Portland Trail Blazers. I mean, it's obviously been out there for a while that this could happen. It's officially happened. Now, there's been some developments this morning. He hasn't been traded. We're recording this Thursday, July 6th. So essentially what's happened is Lillard has said that he only wants to go to Miami. right? And Portland has said that they only want young players and draft picks. That's the type of package that they're looking to get in return. So Miami does not have enough young players and draft picks on their own to trade for Damian Lillard as the Trailblazers want. It would have to be a 3-team, maybe even a 4-team deal to get Lillard to Miami. So what's come out this morning per Woj is that, speaking of agents, Damian Lillard's agent, his name is Aaron. Oh, sorry. I have it in an article here. Aaron something. Sorry. I had it and then I lost it. Anyway, his agent is, according to Woj, calling other teams.
Actually, I know his agent.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because he's DeMar's agent and I have to deal with him. So anyways.
Oh, cool. Okay. So apparently he is calling every other team other than the Miami Heat and telling them that they should not, well, basically telling them that if they try to trade for Damian Lillard, that they are trading for an unhappy player and that they shouldn't attempt it. So basically, like so basically the Portland Trailblazers are saying, this is the type of package we want. We understand he wants to go to Miami, but we need to do what's best for us. And that's what we're looking to do. And Damian Lillard's camp is basically saying, we don't care. I'm paraphrasing here. They haven't explicitly said that, but they're basically saying, like, we don't care about what type of package you get in return. We want to go to Miami, and we're doing everything we can to make that happen. So things are actually at a bit of a standstill right now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd because, you know, the trail, like, you talk about like doing what's best for the player, right? Or like, this player is given your franchise a lot, you know, most people regard him as the best Trailblazer of all time, right? Like, he's done a lot, right? Like, he's done a lot for the franchise. You sort of, there's a, you know, a sentiment of wanting to do right by him, but then there's also like, well, we still need to do what's best for the team. And then like the flip side of that is like, he signed that max extension and then like a year later he wants out, which is making him more difficult to trade. So it's like, who's doing right by who?
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. It's difficult because on the one hand, I respect, I want to look up the agent's name because I was just on a call with him like a month ago because I did that project with very nice, honestly, super nice people. But he and Dame obviously want to look out for the best interest of Dame. I totally respect that. I understand that. But on the other hand, like, do you know like how the Trailblazers have done right by you, Dame, is by giving you that fat contract, huge contract, where you're going to be paid in your last year something in the like mid 60s of millions of dollars a year, which is a lot. You've earned it. Congratulations. But that is a lot of money. I would say that the balance to be struck here in terms of doing right by a guy who has obviously been your franchise guy, has obviously been loyal to this point, is to, you know, put him in a favorable situation. But that doesn't necessarily mean going to Miami. Because there's a lot of different angles to this, right? Like the other frustrating part of this is, what does this like, this is happening time and time again. Not that Miami's some major, like big market team in terms of market size, but in terms of like being a favorable market, it's definitely one of the places that people like to go for multiple reasons. It's South Beach, it's beautiful weather. There's tax reasons to be there. There's a lot of reasons to be there. It's also a great run franchise. But what does this do for the smaller markets, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is just what it's happening time and time again. So even if you draft a guy, Dame's not a good example because he's obviously been there for a long time. He's obviously put in the work, and it just didn't happen, right? And it didn't happen for a lot of different reasons. It wasn't that the front office was completely inept, even though there were some questionable moves made. It's just sometimes it just doesn't come together, right? So they're parting ways, but what about the Detroits or the Milwaukees or the OKCs or anything could happen. So you draft the guy, and at a certain point, he just starts to call it the shots of exactly where he's going, even though that place can't put together the best package. I think, particularly because I love Miami, it's probably my second largest market in terms of where I have sales and fans and stuff like that. I love Miami. I think he will end up there. I look forward to him ending up there. But obviously, multiple teams are going to get pulled into this. Miami can't even – I don't even think Miami can give the fourth best package right now.
No, not individually, yeah. No,
I mean – and even in terms of the assets that they could give up players, right? I'm not even talking about the picks. Is who would you rather have, Tyler Hero or Tyrese Maxey? I mean, Philly to me, if I'm just looking at packages, Philly looks like they could put together one of the best packages here for them. Utah as well. Although I've heard Utah floated a little bit more than I think. I think that's more of just.
I've heard San Antonio as well.
I've heard San Antonio as well. I mean, with getting Wemby, the question is, I mean, are we hitting the go button on this immediately? So.
By the way, his agent's name is Aaron Goodwin.
Aaron Goodwin, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking it up as we were chatting here.
Yeah. Goodwin Sports Management. Yeah. So.
Well, and then just to add to that, it's also been reported that the Trailblazers don't necessarily want Tyler Hero, which is one of their biggest trade assets, only because they're so guard heavy already. They already have Anthony Simons. They have Shaedon Sharp. They just don't need another player of that type. And that's basically who they have in terms of young players. And I was looking at Miami as well. They lost Max Strus, and they lost, what's his name? He went to LA. I had that in front of me as well. Gabe Vincent. Thank you. So it's those were their younger guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's they really, really don't have it. And I think as much as I can respect that that's where Dame wants to go, it's very obvious why that would be the case. It's also obvious why he would want to be in the Eastern Conference, to be honest. But I think I agree. I was saying back in April, I was joking, about Daryl Morey being you need to do whatever you can to get Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
And, talk about another player who's demanded a trade, James Harden. No, I don't know why Portland would want James Harden. I don't think
they would. Yeah.
They wouldn't want James Harden, but I think if there was a world where you would then flip James Harden for someone else, and then that's how you then get the package you're looking for, then that could be super interesting and satisfy all parties. I think Dame and Embiid together would be massive. Obviously, that would suck for us as Raptors fans, but we're not winning next year anyways, and we'll get into that. So it's might as well, But really, the Sixers problem, obviously, getting out of the second round, but also it's just they've had players that, freeze up in those big moments. And Dame, he's Dame time. He's literally the cure to their problems. So it's if you're Daryl Morey, you're hey, I know you've got Miami on the brain, but you just do everything you can to get him, I think. I mean, the issue with Harden is I think this is his third trade demand in the last 4 years.
I think he's been on
right, he demanded a trade from Houston and then from Brooklyn and now from Philly.
Yeah, so that put him on 3 teams, correct? Yeah, so it's 3 teams in 4 years. Yeah.
I believe it's 3 teams in 4 years that he's been demanding trades.
And so narrowly, Yeah, it would be his fourth team in 3 years if he does move. So
Yeah.
wait for anyways, yeah, a lot of teams in a lot of years. And I honestly, here's the thing with Harden. I mean, just to be transparent, like he was one of those people that like for whatever reason his personality never really clicked with me. I just didn't really. And then he kept showing like there was this is off the dome. So
Like with you personally?
Yeah,
like
with me personally, like he was just a player that I was just like, I didn't like his play style. I didn't find it fun to watch the Rockets, even though, you know, the year that he was the MVP and they were constantly, you know, going very deep, exciting team. I just didn't like it. His personality, I don't know him. I try not to judge people like that, but it didn't click. So I would never go as far as to say like, oh, I don't like James Harden. It's just like, I just don't have a connection with him as a person or a player. And then he just like continually showed that he was actually kind of a decent person. He was bringing, you know, differently abled people to the games and seeing them after the game. And there'd be videos of it coming out.
Right.
Like,
that young guy who was a victim of that Michigan University shooting.
Exactly. Thank you. That's what it was. And it's like, you seem like a decent person actually. So that's great. However, this thing of constantly just asking to move out of, you know, less than optimal situations and opting back into your contract is just like, man, that's crappy.
He's got to know. He's got to know that demanding trades this often doesn't help your trade value.
It's the
like
most.
He's got to know that.
Done it more. Yeah, nobody's done it more.
And in addition to that, he's not exactly known for his work ethic.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, increasing in age. And then it's just like the combination of those things just makes it really rough. I agree. He's probably a decent guy. Like, I'm sure his teammates get along with him. You know, he's partying, whatever, but, you know, still a decent guy. And so it's just like, I don't know. I can't even... Like, obviously, so the Clippers have been rumored to want him, but also it's kind of similar to the Miami situation. They have explicitly said that they don't want to give up Terrence Mann and Norm Powell for James Harden. So who else are you trading for him? So then it's like, now is that going to happen? Right? It's like all these guys demanding trades, thinking like everyone's going to give up whatever for you. And then it doesn't make sense because like with so much parity in the league, it actually becomes a bigger risk where like if there was like a Kevin Durant Warriors dynasty and you kind of pretty much know you can't compete on that level, but you're trying to like keep your, you know, season ticket holders happy and you're trying to stay competitive, then you're like, okay, this will keep us somewhere between 4th and 6th in the East or the West, and that will make our fan base happy. But we don't live in that economy anymore.
Yeah, I know. That's so true. That's such a good point. And his value is just plummeting. I don't think he'll command a really big. I honestly think like there was the I'm not sure if you saw. Michael Rubin's all-white party.
I did.
And he was there with Tobias Harris and Embiid. I'm not sure if they were sent as special operatives to the party to go. maybe Daryl and Nick were like, go in. Here's your outfit. They gave them like all-white outfits, and they're like, go in and just chop it up with. James, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, NBA players tend to be pretty good at separating that stuff, you know. So just because you see the three of them at a party together does not mean that they're like, oh, we're gonna stay together forever. But I would not be surprised to see him actually stay. I mean, this is not breaking news. I'm probably the millionth person to say this, but Daryl Morey does not just trade to trade. He gets the value out of his assets that he wants, even when that value is ludicrous. I mean, some of the reports of what he was asking for Tobias Harris are just crazy. And you know what? Tobias Harris, speaking of like incredibly decent human beings, if you ever want to listen to like awesome interviews. Go listen to Tobias Harris ones. That guy is like very sage and kind of enlightened. Like he's a cool cat to listen to.
Oh, cool.
But maybe a little overpaid if we're just speaking in basketball terms. So
he's overpaid to the point where it's like his reputation.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like it's like the thing he's most known for. I think people know him more for being overpaid than anything he's actually done basketball wise. It's sort of crazy.
It's a bummer.
But honestly, good for him. Who cares?
Yeah, and if you were paid adequately, and we could have a discussion about what that number might be, not that it would matter for us, because as we said earlier, we don't understand money, not on that level at least. So if you were paid adequately, I think you would have like a very good reputation in the league. You know what I mean? Like among fans, like I think people would be like, oh yeah, he's like a really good player to have. But because and
like Philly is just so whatever, and he's made funny comments about that in the past. And
but speaking of Dame, wouldn't it be hilarious to see him, like if that trade ends up happening and Dame somehow ends up on Philly? That would be like 2 for 2 with Nick, like just going to like. Oh,
true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like going to a franchise and then like having. I mean, it sort of happened in the opposite order, but. Oh no, was Nick hired before the Kawhi trade?
He was hired before the Kawhi trade.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yes. So there you go.
I think, I was trying to think about why he would pick Philly over Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right? Because apparently he was right there for the Milwaukee job, but he kind of stepped down so Adrian Griffin could have that job and then chose Philly. Allegedly, that's how it went down. And if that's the case, like, I just don't know why you would pick Philly over Milwaukee. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, all he has to do is get out of the second round.
Yeah. And he's a hero.
And he's, like, he doesn't even have to win a championship. Where, like, in Milwaukee, like, you have to win a championship. Otherwise, it's like, that you've wasted their time. I wonder if that was part of it. I don't know. It's something I've been curious about.
I feel like part of it as well was, obviously Daryl Morey's a very shrewd front office executive, and I think he was very forthcoming about what was occurring within the organization and what they had on the horizon. And I think that he was probably maybe looking at the Damian Lillard situation. I think that they have predicted a lot of what's happening here. I don't think it's like news to them. So I wonder if he thinks that this could have developed into a better situation, because as much as it seems like it's some altruistic thing, or it might have been reported that it's an altruistic thing that he didn't take the Milwaukee job for Adrian to get it, that's just not the way the real world works. That might have been a component of it, and he might have been like, well, this is great, and this is actually a better situation. But ultimately, in this, especially in this hyper competitive, there's only 30 jobs available in the world, and only about 5 of them are favorable, right? So, and he has a choice between 2 of those 5. There would have been a real reason, right, that he's looking at Philly. Because he's got a lot more to contend with in Philly too, right? Like in another way, right? So as you said, no, maybe he doesn't have to win the finals or bust. But on the other hand, he has to contend with just the losing culture in Philly that has been established there. And it's not Daryl's fault. He wasn't the one who established it. It wasn't Doc's fault either. It's just something that has been entrenched there in certain players. And frankly, Embiid seems like one of those players, right? Like you can't just slump your shoulders and go, okay, next. Like the body language on Embiid sometimes is just like unbelievable.
Really bad.
You just watch him and you go, whoa, buddy, this is when you need to, like, your shoulders need to go back and your chest needs to go out. You really need to take charge of the situation. But, or some games, and I don't know behind the scenes, but I've heard vague allusions to Embiid sitting out of games that maybe he could have played. So,
right, I'm sure that's true.
And so he's got to contend with that. Nick has to contend with that. Is my and contend with the media there. Like if Nick,
God, I can't get over
Yeah.
that press conference. And then
Yeah.
in comparison to the Darko welcome press conference where there's fucking balloons and there's free ice cream and it's outside and it's like a celebration, it's a party where Nick Nurse is getting interviewed like he's a full-on like politician.
Yeah,
and they're like asking him about foreign policy. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so intense in comparison.
Yeah. How would you resolve the crisis
like it's just
Israel?
insane.
What?
They're asking him about the Saudi arms deal. I mean, it's
how do you think
Darko's like, hey, free ice cream. I love it here.
And honestly, man, like a lot has been made, and I think we'll get to this a little bit later. I'm going to go off about it actually, but a lot has been made about what sort of happened behind the scenes last season, and just watching Nick get irritated, and as people are allowed to do, by the way, we all get irritated. That's totally okay. But watching him get irritated with the Toronto media scrums sometimes, especially nearing the end, and get a little snippy and say things that really just didn't make sense because it was like setting up a time bomb for himself.
For sure.
It will be interesting to watch.
How he handles the Philly media. Toronto media is like the nicest of all the NBA media. Mm-hmm. Easily. And half of them are employed by half of them are employed by the team.
I know. And half of them are and I don't like half of them are there to sort of, I don't want to say lob softballs, but just to sort of be like,
oh, for sure they are though.
I'm going to tee up this question for you so that you can answer the question that you've asked me to answer, right? So it'll be interesting to watch. I do have certain issues with the online fan base. I think that's a completely different story in Toronto. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to watch. And
well, let's get into.
It could go south. Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed.
It could very easily go south. It could very easily go south. But with that, let's get into our Raptors homer moment here. And let's talk about our Fred VanVleet. He has left for the Houston Rockets, as we know. He rolled the dice. He got the bag. I mean, I've been saying for a long time, you will go to the highest bidder regardless of location or anything. Personally, I think we all saw this coming. The writing was on the wall. I'm just disappointed that we lost him for nothing. I just feel like it's just another player from that championship team that basically walked for nothing. I mean, when you look at it, it's just like, obviously I'm not the first person to make this point, but we obviously, we lose Kawhi. We lost Marc Gasol. We lost Serge Ibaka, which, was fair because they were basically done. But then we trade Norm for Gary Trent Jr., which, respect to Gary Trent Jr., has turned out to be a step down. We sign and trade Kyle for Precious. And Casey, you're here. Okay, good. We lost you on YouTube for a second. Okay, no, all good. You're back.
Somebody called me and it just went.
Oh, really? Okay. I was like, where did you go? I'm like listing off all these players
quietly. Yeah, it didn't work. Anyways, I'm here. Yes. I heard all that though.
Anyways, and now we lose Fred as well, and it's just like Pascal and OG are the only ones left from that team. Like the only players we've gotten back are Precious and Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, I know.
For all those guys, it's not great. And look, like I said, the writing was on the wall with Fred. I think we knew it was going to happen. I don't know what kind of offers we got for Fred during last season that the team decided it wasn't worth it. I don't understand why nothing was better than something. I don't know, but it's disappointing.
It is disappointing, and there's been a lot of that this off season, and just in general, as you mentioned, right? I agree. that with maybe less so for Mark. I think Mark had a little bit more in the tank, but Ibaka was done. Great locker room guy. I would just bring him back just for the
It
vibe.
just sucks because like Ibaka, like he had a back injury and then he was just never the same. And then Gasol was done just for the sake of being done. So look, I think it was smart that we didn't re-sign either of those players. It's just when you look at the totality of all those assets, I'm sorry, it's a business. We refer to people as assets in sports. It's always kind of weird to me.
But effectively, without being like, not intentionally being dehumanizing, like effectively, that's what
I mean, everyone does
asset.
it. It's just always feels weird to me. But like to just lose. I mean, like I said, the trading Norm, the sign and trade with Kyle. I was hoping to at least be able to do a sign and trade with Fred. I was looking at Orlando. There was a lot of Orlando rumors. They have a lot of really young guards. I was like, if we could get even one of those young guards back, like that would be something we could build upon. It doesn't happen. We immediately signed Dennis Schroeder. Respect to Dennis Schroeder, not the same level of player, but at least he knows how to run an offense to some degree. So it's just, I feel like our hand has been forced into a rebuild instead of like being in control of a rebuild. That's just my personal feeling around it. Yeah. My feelings can change.
I think to a certain degree, I am on board with you there. I do think that we can't, and this feels like a kind of cop-out statement a bit, and I don't intend it to be, but I feel like we can't really, we don't know what was on the table, as you said. I heard there was something around like Luke Kennard or something, like it's hard to say. And frankly, like I'm going to be like, just being like, keeping it a buck here. Like it was a lot of money for Fred to take. Very happy for him. I'll speak to that in a moment. But, I'm pretty sure the third year is a team option, right? Mm-hmm. And the Raptors were offering more time and guaranteed money, right? So I think that when they brought in that third year, that was that nail in the coffin. But it is a team option. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. That is about as close to generational money as you can get without it being generational money. It's very, very close. Yeah. I mean, you just put that in the bank and just what you're making on. Yeah,
it's not Rich Paul money, but it's
it's not. 3% on that, and it's just like unreal every year, right? So, anyways, it's a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know that there's a lot you can control in that situation, and that's what sucks, right? We can point our finger at what's been mostly an incredibly competent front office here, and we can look at the past few years and say they didn't go exactly as we planned. Right, they didn't, right? Like Aaron Baines looked like he probably was going to be a good signing. Like honestly, it did not go well, but it did not go well because of health complications that came out a year and a half later, finding out that he collapsed in a washroom during the FIBA tournament. I think it was the FIBA tournament at least.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he had like real. Again, the details on that are fuzzy. I'm not S or
sure.
But I'm just saying, like this was all stuff that you can't really control. Like look at what he's done in Phoenix, right? He looked fantastic. So we rolled the dice on him and Len, and that didn't work out, and a bunch of stuff didn't work out. And then we're in Tampa for a year, playing out of a Marriott continental breakfast hallway. Like it's just like thing after thing, or it's not going well for this franchise. And them's the breaks sometimes, right? Like you hit. And it just sucks. Like people have shown that picture from the Slam photo shoot where they keep like fading away like Thanos style, player after player. What's interesting is that they're fading all in one direction, and all that's left is OG and Siakam now. And we'll get to Siakam in a second. But like, it sucks, man. It sucks to have this happen. But I think that the bright shining light to me is still Scotty. I'm really excited to see Grady And I'm really excited for Grady, actually. I think that he's a really fun personality.
Well, have you thought of any designs for your Grady
there's
jersey?
100%. There's a Grady thing coming up with Grady that will happen soon. So I'm going to keep that on the DL. But that kid is amazing. He's very funny. And when I saw him get drafted, that was the closest I've ever felt to seeing what it might look like if I got drafted by my hometown team. So I was very,
see, representation matters. Representation matters.
To the pale white kids. So that was the breaks, man. But I do want to speak on one thing. I watched your when S was on, and you guys spoke about this a bit. I'm just going to address it directly. I know that like people who watch this aren't these people, but the way people are acting online, particularly in the Raptors Twitter sphere right now, which is just a mess, I get it, is not okay. It's just like, it's completely gone off the deep end. Fred doesn't care about that type of stuff. It's the people around him who care about that type of stuff. It doesn't hurt his feelings. It hurts his mom's feelings. It hurts his wife's feelings. Those are the people that it affects. Fred's a big boy and absolutely has always been a leader, even when Kyle was here. But like, let me tell you, as somebody whose life he changed, he reached out to me in 2018 and completely changed my fucking life. Like just in an instant, right? I was grinding away. I was trying to make this art thing work. I was doing okay at it, but he saw something, and I give myself credit in the work that I put in as well. And I work like 7 days a week to make this happen. But just by him sort of betting on me, it changed my life. And he's been decent to me. He's reached out to me when I got engaged, reached out to me when I got married, reached out to me when we've got news that my wife was pregnant, we're having a daughter. He is such a good person. Can you be critical of his play? 100%. I could sit here and be critical of his play. I don't think that the Raptors should have paid him that money. I'm glad the Raptors did not pay him that money. Well, also, I'm very happy for him to get paid that money in Houston, and wish that he makes every single All-Star game forever. It's going to be difficult, but you can be critical of that. But attacking somebody's character like that online, just because, and by the way, it's obvious, things aren't going well in your life, is not okay. It's not a normal thing to do. These are human beings. You can't just say, well, they get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's okay for me to attack them online and berate them and send them messages that are just like, honestly, you should be put in jail for some of them. That's not okay, right? This is a man who has worked really hard for what he has. Is he in an incredibly lucrative area? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's lots of people who work hard who don't get the breaks that, the cash out that he did. But it's got to stop, man, because it's getting, and I'm not speaking to everyone here, because there are so many great people online, especially in the Raptors world. But the amount to which you see that toxic behavior is embarrassing within that world. I work in different markets. I work in Miami. I've worked in Memphis, LA to a small bit. And it's getting harder and harder not to sort of wince as you tell somebody that you're a Raptors fan. The behavior online is just like, it's getting a reputation.
Yeah, Raptors fans outside of our bubble actually don't have the best reputation. Like I listen to other, NBA podcasts. Like I consume a lot of NBA content beyond just the Raptors. Yeah. And like there's one podcast I love. I subscribe to it. It's called The GOAT Pod, Greatest of All Time. Right. Yeah. It's hosted by Ben Golliver. They somewhat affectionately refer to Raptors fans as termites, and like I get a good laugh out of it. Right. It's funny, but it's just like their interactions, like even like Ryan Russillo has talked about like getting death threats from Raptors fans. Like it's kind of wild. Like Raptors fans don't have the best reputation, but I also feel like, I mean, this is like a larger philosophical kind of conversation, but like I've noticed a huge shift in fandom post championship.
Yeah.
Like especially locally. Like I remember like, remember when we were always like losing to Cleveland and right. And the Cavs were going to the finals and Doris Burke is interviewing LeBron James and everyone's still chanting, "Let's go Raptors." And LeBron says, "Do you hear these fans?
Yeah.
That's not who we are as a collective anymore." A lot of those fans are still left. I'm sure a lot of those fans are Raptors Republic people because we're diehards and, but like that as a culture is not the case anymore. Like I
think we have to stare it in the face. Like it's not like as you said, like it's not who we are anymore. Because like I always want to contextualize, just like you did and just like I did right now, and saying like, oh, but there's still remnants of it. We just have to you have to diagnose a problem before you can solve a problem. We aren't those people anymore, right? As a collective, we're not. You can pick apart people and people, and I have so many people that I am so grateful for in that sphere. So it's not that like if you're listening to this and you feel personally called out by it, maybe it's not you, but also maybe it is you. Maybe just take a look in the mirror and think, how have I interacted as a fan across, it doesn't even have to be sports. I mean, look at everybody getting pelted in the head on stage right now as musical artists, like people throwing things on stage. We're not interacting with as fans as we used to. And I get it. I understand, right? Like I feel it too. The world is not the same. Groceries are up 18, 19%. Rent is ridiculous. The job market isn't what it used to be. I get it. It does not excuse certain behavior because you can't put all of your chips. I think S spoke to it on the last episode like that. You can't put your emotional stability into your favorite team. You just can't. It is a recipe for disaster. If your team plays poorly, you can't let that. You can obviously be like, oh, that's like, grumpy about it. That's fine. But like letting it affect the way you interact with the world is a moment to look in the mirror and say, is this about the team or is this about something else that's going on with me? Right? I've been there. I'm a recovered alcoholic, right? I have been there. I know.
How many years sober are you now, Casey?
5 yesterday.
Congratulations. 5 yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah. So I get it, right? I've been through in addiction, they tell you that like, it's a behavioral problem of another problem, right? It's a coping mechanism. Yes. It's not that you're just randomly addicted to some random thing. It's because of something else that's going on with you emotionally or traumatically. It could be any number of things. And I'm just telling anybody who will listen, stop it. It's not okay. You can't act that way online. You can't. It's not okay. You're in insular communities. Stop arguing with people online. When people say go touch grass, it's almost sort of lost its impact because it gets said so often. But honestly, Go touch grass. Go stand outside. Go breathe. Go look at the sky. Listen to the wind in the trees. Meditate. Do what you love. Unplug for a while. It's really, really not okay. In general, I deal with incredible people, but more and more I'm seeing certain people, the way they interact, even sending emails to me, and you're just like, yo, not okay. That's not okay. You can't speak like that.
Casey, I mean, I think all that is extremely well said, and I completely agree. And I think, a lot, I feel like in sports, like, I personally feel like a lot of men are kind of sort of taught that like this is the one space you can act out.
Yeah.
Right. With sports, like this is like the one area where you can really show a lot of emotion without judgment. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from. I think that's why a lot of people, I mean, it can happen with women too, but obviously it's like particularly more with men, that like that's why so much of their emotional well-being gets put into sports, because we as a society have told this lie that this is like the one place where you can publicly show or have these emotions, right? So then you start to feel irrational about your team, and you start to have like, you know, self-identity things with your team because this is your city and blah, blah, blah. And then you relate that to you. I mean, even as we talk about sports, like I do this too. Like I refer to the Raptors as like we, and it's like, I'm not on this team.
Yeah.
I'm not on the team. I'm not employed by the team. I'm not on the team, but we refer to it as we, right? And so I just think like it is very important to be self-aware about your relationship with sports. And I also think, you know, again, it's a larger conversation, but as a society, we need to give people, and particularly men, space to have feelings.
Yeah, I agree. But
right. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from for people.
I would completely agree with that. I'm always curious too, because I've been on Twitter for a minute. I've been a part of the RTZ. I've watched it all happen. RTZ, I guess, because they're in Canada.
Shout out to hashtag RTZ,
it's
man.
never been this bad. It's never been this bad.
Yeah.
This is really reached a breaking point. And I think I also think it's, and I'm not, you know, a curmudgeon old man, but I also think it's a new generation coming in, and you know, maybe they've interacted online a little bit different. Maybe they feel robbed from their youth because of what we just went through, which I understand. I don't know what it would be like to be in high school when three out of your 4 years were spent at home, almost.
Yeah, I know.
You know. But I'm just saying that it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's your responsibility to regulate it in yourself. It could be anybody else's fault. You can say, well, this happened to me, and this is why I'm like this. And you're like, it doesn't matter. It's only you who can fix it. It's only you. You're the person who has to clean up this mess. And it's only you who benefits from it, by the way. So like, it's not like it's some crazy responsibility. Like, look at me. Like I fucking do really well. Like really well, way better than most people realize. And I do it hanging out with basketball players and hanging out with, like, not like, you know, I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying it's because I took it 5 years ago.
You took the time to help yourself, right?
Yeah.
You took the time to get help, and you've been able to turn your life around and have this amazing, successful, fulfilling life, like both career and personal life. As a result of doing that.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, like, just look within yourself, and I agree with the thing with men, and my only thing is to say the other side of the aisle is have empathy for those people. Don't, you know, if you just keep casting stones in their direction, it's only going to get worse. They're going to put up their backs more. Approach things with empathy and understanding, you know. It doesn't mean you have to put up with their bullshit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you exercise empathy, you'll find that you can reach across the aisle, and the person's more willing to listen and hear you out.
Wow. So, well, amen to that.
Yeah. But also, and to get back to Fred, he's fucking amazing. He's like maybe top 7, top 8 Raptors of all time, in my opinion. Like just on.
That's true. He could be a top 10 Raptor of all time. I haven't looked at that, but you're probably dead on with that. I think, you know, Fred is a great guy. I think he is highly inspirational. I think what's happened with both him and Siakam to some degree, and I talked about this, I think, was it last week or a few weeks ago on this pod when The Athletic like put out that article, and like Siakam was like the second most like overrated player in the league according to like whatever poll that they did. And I'm just like, people forget where these guys came from. You know what I mean? It's like they see their success and they just keep raising the bar for them. And it's just like, you have to stop doing that. Like you have to stop expecting more all the time from these guys. It's like Pascal Siakam was going to be a priest in high school. He was going to be a priest. And he picked up a basketball in like his second or third year of high school. Like, I don't think he owes anyone more than what he's capable of doing. And if you think he's overpaid, then that's a different conversation. But I think he's actually properly paid for what he actually contributes to a team. Yeah. Same with Fred. This guy was undrafted. Both him and Siakam battled through the G League, won a G League championship, to then come into the NBA, to then win an NBA championship, to then become an all-star. That level of trajectory almost never happens. And because it happened on this team twice, I feel like people take it for granted. And I think you just need to take a step back and realize these guys have accomplished so much. They are the reason we watch sports in the best way. Like on our best day, they are the reason we watch sports, and they are incredible human beings as well as athletes. And we just need to appreciate them more.
And you just don't find guys like that. Like, I think that's what I wanted, like, say with the trade, which is not in my hands, right? So like, if it happens, it happens. But I don't know if I completely believe the reports. I think that it might be a little overblown, but like
which reports exactly?
Oh, for Atlanta. Sorry, I should have.
There's rumors that Siakam is next to be traded, and the Atlanta Hawks are interested. That's per Michael Grange.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, to be honest. But let's say...
Well, if the Hawks get them, then they'll have the number 1 and the number 2 most overrated players in the NBA. So why not?
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Because you don't get guys like this. Like, do you know how hard it is to find? Like, I've watched this team, like, legitimately watch. I know a lot of people say this. I mean, I was very young for portions of it. But I was born in 87, so I've been a fan of this team since like 95. I've watched the ups and downs. I watched the least probably during the Bargnani era because I couldn't.
Post Vince Carter, I tuned out quite a bit as well, and
so much,
the Bargnani era was like I was probably a bit more like in and out. The Primo Pasta commercials, actually, I mean, people joke about them, but honestly, they were hard to sit through. I was like, how many of these Primo Pasta commercials am I supposed to watch in a 2.5 hour block? Like, this is crazy.
The pizza
yeah, like this is actually a lot.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you don't find people, like you said, people are taking things for granted here. Do you know how hard it is to find a Pascal Siakam? Do you know how hard it is to find a guy like that? He's like, we look at the way that we compare players just because of the distance from them. You know, you look at a Chris Bosh, we can have a discussion about this. Like, I don't think it's just gospel. But in my estimation, Pascal Siakam is a better player for the Raptors than Chris Bosh ever was. You don't just find players like Pascal Siakam. Is he a number 1? Maybe not, right? Maybe not. I don't know. But just finding somebody like that and giving up and thinking, oh, we'll find somebody in the draft. We'll pick up these young prospects. They're unknown entities. You don't just like... You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, we'll just go get another Pascal Siakam. It's really hard to find.
It's true. Like,
and why we wanted to retain Fred, because you don't just find Freds.
Well, it's like, there's been a lot of talk about, Pascal Siakam being sort of, miscast as a number 1 player.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. On a winning team. And I think there is truth to that for sure. But I also see how that's like extremely unfair to him. Because it's like, who put him in that position? Also, I just don't I look at Siakam and I'm just like, he just doesn't owe you more than what he is capable of. He's given you so much, right? Yeah. Like, even if he's a number 2 on a championship team, which, arguably he was when we won a championship between him and Kyle, it just depends on what types of players and, abilities you value. But it's just like, even if he's a number 3 on a championship team, that's massive from where he came from. What was he was drafted like 21st or something? Like, somewhere in the 20s he was drafted. It's like, that is Casey's off if you're watching YouTube again, but
I'm so popular, everybody's calling me.
You know what? It's like right before lunch, and I feel like that's the time everyone tries to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I just don't feel like he owes anyone more than what he's capable of. And
yeah,
it's just, I don't know. I just think right now it's a confusing time as Raptors fans. It's a confusing time as the organization because we've just been sort of like, we don't know what direction this team's going in. There's been more questions than answers. And it's all coming out the way that it is. But we should probably wrap this up because we're at the 1 hour mark here. Casey, what an incredible conversation. I always love having you on the show. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
This is an unofficial season finale for Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm gonna come back in the fall. I am covering the WNBA weekly on the Pickup. So if anyone is interested in that, you can check out the Pickup WNBA podcast. If something crazy happens, then I could come back. That's why I say it's unofficial. Like if something bonkers happens, then I'm
Toronto
like, you know what?
Damian Lillard.
Yeah, then I'm going to want to jump back on this podcast and talk about it, you know, in the middle of August. But like, just like last summer, I didn't want to do like 2 months of like, where is Kevin Durant going to go just for him to go nowhere, just for him to go to Phoenix, right? At the midseason deadline. So I don't want to have a whole summer of like, where is Damian Lillard going to go? So that's why I just feel like right now is the time to call it and enjoy my summer, and for everyone else to enjoy your summer as well. And if something crazy happens, I will be back. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this show all season long. I appreciate you a lot. The show continues to grow, so I'm really excited about that, both on YouTube and online. Of course, subscribe and support Raptors Republic. We've got some guys out at Summer League right now, so you'll get more Summer League content from RR and all that good stuff. And it sounds like there's some construction happening on Casey's side, so we really gotta go. But Casey, thank you so much again for being on the show. Let us know what you're up to. What are your new Grady Dick designs? What are your Fred Van? Are you going to do some Houston Fred VanVleet stuff? Like,
hopefully.
What are you up to? Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. So hopefully something with that. There's going to be some stuff coming with Grady at some point. We'll be more into the season, but you'll see some content, I think, coming soonish. I'm probably going to take a bit of a break because my firstborn is on the way in 2 weeks. So that's really what I got going on in my life. Speaking of
congratulations.
weighing out sports and life, that's what really counts. But otherwise, what I have going on soon is tomorrow, depending on when this will go up, but it'll be Friday, July 7th. No, Friday, July. Anyways,
tomorrow is July 7th. Yes, that's when this episode comes out. Yeah.
Tomorrow, July 7th, hats are dropping. These got a side patch on them too.
Oh, nice.
So basically what this is it's going to be like doing different neighborhoods. It's for my 6 ends line, different neighborhoods around Toronto, doing places where people actually live. I've got tired of seeing places that were like Casa Loma and King West and Queen West and all these places where people don't actually live, and little embroidery and stuff. So I decided I'm going to make stuff, apparel for places that are underrepresented. Malvern,
shout out.
Riverdale, and really high quality stuff. I always make really high quality stuff. And then other than that, I'm just working with my homie Ali Jamal from Northern Touch Vintage. We're working on a ready-to-wear line. This is one of the shirts, chenille. So you'll see that around. Not basketball related, but you may see some basketball players in it because of some dope people in my life who support me. And otherwise, what I got going on? Just live your life, be happy, go touch grass, and adopt dogs. Adopt all the dogs. Adopt, don't shop.
This is Prices Right now. We just have like a thing about dogs at the end of
it. Neuter your dogs. Dogs are great for mental health. And there's so many dogs that need homes. Go adopt old dogs.
Oh my God, Casey, I love it. Thank you again, everyone. Enjoy your summer, touch grass, all that. And we'll see you in a couple months. Take care, everyone. Bye.